Hello everyone. Tonight we begin with the crunch of frost under your feet, the weight of a spear in your calloused hands, and the distant bellow of a mammoth that could crush you like a twig. Imagine this. You're crouched in a brittle thicket, your breath fogging in the dawn chill, and the ground trembles faintly. Somewhere out there, a beast the size of a house is grazing, oblivious to the fact that you, yes you, are about to risk everything to bring it down. One wrong move, and you're not just missing dinner, you're a smear on the step. Could you survive the mammoth hunt like a Clovis hunter? Could you outwit a creature that's been dodging predators since the world was ice? Let's find out, you and I, as we slip into a dream older than stone, sharper than flint. Oh, and before we dive in, where are you watching from? What time is it where you are? Drop a comment below. I'd love to know who's curled up in their blanket, joining me in this ancient night. The wind bites at your knuckles, raw from days of sharpening flint. You're not alone in this hunt, but it feels like you are. The others, your band of Clovis kin, are scattered in the half-light, their silhouettes blending with the gnarled junipers. You can smell them, though, the sour tang of sweat-soaked hides, the faint smoke clinging to their hair from last night's fire. Your stomach twists, not just from hunger, but from the weight of what's coming. The mammoth's tracks are fresh, pressed deep into the frost-crusted earth, each one wide enough to lie in. You trace one with your fingertip, feeling the ridges where its footpad sank. It's close. Too close. Your heart thuds like a drum, and you wonder if the beast can hear it. You shift your grip on the spear, its shaft worn smooth by your palms. The flint tip, napped to a wicked point, glints in the weak sunlight. You made it yourself, chipping away for hours until your fingers bled, whispering to the stone as if it could hear you. The elders say the flint has a spirit, that it chooses whether to strike true. You're not sure you believe that, but you whispered anyway, just in case. Now holding it, you feel a flicker of doubt. What if the spirit's angry? What if you miss? You shove the thought down. Doubt is a luxury you can't afford, not when the band's gone 3 days without a kill. Back at camp, the children are chewing on roots that taste like dirt, and the old ones are starting to cough in a way that doesn't stop. You've seen what happens when the hunger lasts too long. Faces go hollow, eyes turn dull, and then someone's gone by morning. A shadow moves to your left, low and quiet. It's Kui, the hunter with the crooked smile and the scar that splits his eyebrow. He's older than you, maybe 20 winters, but he moves like a wolf, all sinew and silence. You don't like him much. He's too quick to laugh when you fumble, too eager to claim the best cuts of meat, but you trust him out here. He's killed mammoths before, or so he says. His eyes meet yours, and he jerks his chin toward the ridge ahead. No words. Words are dangerous now. The wind could carry them to the beast. You nod your throat tight and creep forward, the grass crackling under your hide boots. The air smells of frost and something heavier, musk, like wet fur left too long in the sun. The mammoth's scent. It's stronger now, curling into your lungs with every breath. You try to picture the beast, its curving tusks, its shaggy bulk, the way its trunk can snatch a man and fling him like a child's toy. You've seen mammoths from a distance, grazing in the valley where the river bends, but never this close. The elders tell stories of hunts gone wrong. One where a man named Tor was gored through the chest, another where a whole band vanished, leaving only blood-soaked spears. You wonder if those stories are true, or if they're just meant to scare you into being careful. Either way, they're working. Your hands are slick with sweat, despite the cold. You reach the ridge and peer over. There it is. Your breath catches. The mammoth stands in a clearing, its back a mountain of matted fur, its trunk swaying as it tears at a clump of sedge. It's smaller than you expected, not a bull, maybe a young cow, but still massive, its shoulders twice your height. Its tusks are stained yellow, curling like the crescent moon. You can hear it breathing, a deep, wet rumble that vibrates in your chest. For a moment, you're frozen, not by fear, but by awe. This thing is alive, ancient, a piece of the world, before your people ever set foot here. And you're supposed to kill it. Queen nudges you, his eyes sharp. He points to the others, barely visible in the brush, their spears ready. The plan is simple. Drive the mammoth toward the ravine, where the ground drops sharply. If it stumbles, you'll have a chance to strike. If it doesn't, well, you try not to think about that. You glance at Qui, wondering if he feels the same knot in his gut. His face is blank, but there's a twitch in his jaw, like he's chewing on something he can't spit out. You wonder what he's thinking. Does he trust you to hold your ground? Or is he already planning how to save himself if you bolt? The signal comes, a low whistle, sharp as a bird's cry. Your muscles tense. You rise, slow and silent, your spear balanced. The others are moving too, fanning out to flank the beast. You take a step, then another, the frost crunching softly. The mammoth doesn't notice, its trunk still buried in the sedge. You're close enough now to see the scars on its flank, old wounds from fights or falls. You wonder how many hunters it's outlived. Your mouth is dry, your pulse hammering in your ears. You imagine missing your throw, the spear glancing off its hide, the mammoth turning to charge. You imagine the band's faces when you return empty-handed, or don't return at all. Then there's a shout, sudden and raw. Not part of the plan. You whip your head around. One of the hunters, young, barely 15 winters, has tripped, his spear clattering against a rock. The mammoth's head jerks up, its ears flaring. Its eyes, small and dark, lock onto the boy. Time slows. You see the boy scramble to his feet, his face pale, his hands empty. The mammoth snorts, a sound like a storm breaking, and lowers its tusks. You don't think. You scream, a wordless roar, and hurl a stone from the ground. It arcs through the air and thuds against the mammoth's shoulder. Not enough to hurt, but enough to distract. The beast swings its head toward you, its trunk curling like a snake. Qui hisses something, but you don't hear it. The mammoth takes a step, the ground shaking. You clutch your spear, your legs screaming to run. The boy is still on the ground, crawling toward the brush. The others are shouting now, waving their arms, trying to pull the beast's attention. You could run. You could drop the spear and sprint for the ridge, hide in the junipers, let the others deal with it. No one would blame you, not out loud anyway. But you'd see it in their eyes, the way they'd look at you around the fire. Coward. Weak. You think of the boy, his terrified face, and something in you hardens. You plant your feet, raise your spear, and scream again, daring the mammoth to charge. It does. The world narrows to the beast's bulk, its tusks gleaming, its eyes fixed on you. You have seconds, maybe less. Your arm cocks back, the spear's weight familiar, almost comforting. You think of the flint spirit, the whispers you offered it. You think of the band, the hunger, the cold. You think of the boy, who might live if you don't falter. The mammoth is close now, its breath hot and rank, its hooves tearing the earth. You throw. The spear leaves your hand, slicing through the air with a faint whistle. Your arm burns from the throw, muscle screaming, but you don't dare look away. The mammoth is a wall of fur and fury, its tusks swinging like twin scythes. The flint tip glints once in the dawn light before it buries itself in the beast's shoulder, just below the hump of fat. A hit, but not deep. The mammoth bellows, a sound that rattles your bones and stumbles, its massive head dipping. For a heartbeat, you think it might fall. You think you've done it, saved the boy, fed the band, earned a name that won't be forgotten. But then it rights itself, shaking its head as if the spear were a thorn, and its eyes find you again. They're not dull or animal now. They burn with something you can only call rage. You stagger back, your boots slipping on the frost. The boy is gone, scrambled into the brush, but you're alone in the clearing now. The mammoth's full attention on you. The others are shouting, their voices distant, swallowed by the thud of your pulse. Qui is somewhere to your right, waving his spear, trying to draw the beast off, but it doesn't care. It wants you. Its trunk curls, and it charges again, slower this time, blood seeping from the wound you made. You dive to the side, rolling into a patch of sedge, the sharp blades cutting your palms. The mammoth's hoof smashes the ground where you stood, sending a spray of dirt into your face. You taste earth bitter and cold, and for a moment you're back in the modern world, choking on the stress of a missed deadline, the beep of a phone that never stops. But this isn't a cubicle. This is survival, raw and sharp, and there's no logging off. You scramble to your feet, hands empty. Your spear is lodged in the mammoth's hide, useless now. You have a knife, flint, small, strapped to your thigh, but it's like bringing a toothpick to a war. The mammoth swings its head, its tusk grazing the air inches from your chest. You feel the whoosh of it, the heat of its breath, rank with chewed grass and something sour, like rot. You run, not thinking, just moving, your legs pumping through the sedge toward a cluster of boulders. The ground shakes behind you, the mammoth's bulk closing the gap. You hear Qui shouting your name, or maybe it's a curse. You don't care. The boulders are close, their surfaces pitted and gray, offering a slim chance to hide or climb. You leap, grabbing a jagged edge, and haul yourself up just as the mammoth's trunk lashes out, brushing your ankle. The touch is like a whip, stinging, and you nearly lose your grip. You cling to the boulder, panting, your fingers bleeding where the rock bites them. The mammoth circles below, its trunk probing the air, sniffing for you. Its wound is still bleeding, a dark stain matting its fur, but it's not enough to slow it down. You peer over the edge, your breath hitching. The others are regrouping, their spears raised, but they're hesitant. You can see it in their hunched shoulders, the way they glance at each other. They're weighing the odds, risk their lives for you, or let the mammoth have you and hope it tires out. You don't blame them. You'd be thinking the same thing if it were Qui up here, or the boy, or anyone else. Survival isn't kind. It's not a team sport, no matter what the elders say around the fire. A shadow moves at the edge of the clearing, low and deliberate. Not one of the hunters. Your eyes narrow, catching a glimpse of fur, wolf fur, maybe, or something else. It's gone before you can be sure, but it leaves a prickle on your neck, like you're being watched. You've heard stories of her, the one the band calls the Grey Watcher. Not quite human, not quite beast. She's said to haunt the steppe, trailing hunters like a ghost. Some say she's a spirit, bound to the mammoths, protecting them. Others say she's a woman who fled the band long ago, driven mad by hunger or shame, living like an animal. You've never believed the tales, but now, clinging to this rock, you wonder, was that her? Or just a trick of a light? Your fear twisting shadows into shapes? The mammoth snorts, drawing your attention back. It's still circling, but slower, its head lowered. You notice something new, a limp, slight, but there, in its front leg. Your spear must have hit deeper than you thought, maybe nicked a tendon. Hope flickers, fragile as a spark. If you can outlast it, if the others can strike while it's weakened, you might all walk away. But outlasting it means staying here, exposed, with no weapon and no plan. Your knife is still at your thigh, its weight a small comfort. You could climb down, try to stab the beast in a soft spot. Its eye, maybe, or the base of its trunk. But that's a death wish, isn't it? One slip, one misstep, and you're done. You think of the band, the hunger, the way the children's ribs show through their skin. You think of the boy you saved, his wide eyes as he crawled away. You think of the Grey Watcher, if she's real, and what she'd think of you cowering here. You shift, your foot dislodging a pebble. It clatters down the boulder, and the mammoth's head snaps up, its ears flaring. You freeze, your breath caught. It stares, and you swear it sees you, not just your body, but you, the trembling thing inside, the one who's not sure if you're brave or just stupid. Then, slowly, it turns away, limping toward the ravine where the others are waiting. Your chest loosens, just a fraction. You've bought a moment, maybe more. But you're not safe. Not yet. You slide down the boulder, landing softly in the sedge. Your hands are shaking, but you force them steady as you draw your knife. The flint blade is small, barely longer than your hand, but it's sharp enough to cut hide. You creep toward the ravine, staying low, the grass hissing against your legs. The air is colder now, the sun still weak, and you can smell blood, mammoth blood, thick and coppery. The hunters are closing in, their spears glinting as they move through the brush. Qui is at the front, his scar pale against his flushed face. He doesn't look at you, but you feel his judgment anyway. You're the one who threw too soon, who drew the beast's wrath. If this hunt fails, it's on you. The mammoth is near the ravine now, its limp more pronounced. The ground slopes sharply ahead, a drop that could break its legs if it falls. The hunters are shouting again, coordinated this time, driving it forward. You join them, your voice hoarse, waving your knife like it's a spear. The mammoth hesitates, its trunk swinging wildly. You see the fear in its movements, the way it tries to turn but can't, hemmed in by the shouting and the spears. For a moment you feel a pang, not guilt, exactly, but something close. This beast is fighting to live, just like you. It's not evil, not cruel. It's just in your way. Then it stumbles, one massive leg buckling. The ground shakes as it lurches forward, its tusks scraping the earth. The hunters roar, surging closer, their spears aimed at its flanks. You run too, your knife raised, not thinking, just acting. You aim for the soft spot behind its ear, where the hide is thinner. Your blade sinks in, hot blood spurting over your hand, and the mammoth screams, a sound that makes your ears ring. You pull back, slipping in the mud, and another hunter drives his spear into its side. The beast is faltering now, its legs trembling, but it's not done. It swings its trunk, catching one of the hunters, a man named Varn, broad-shouldered and loud, and sends him sprawling. He doesn't get up. You freeze, your knife dripping. Varn's body is still, his spear broken beside him. The others don't stop, they can't. The mammoth is close to the ravine, its strength fading. You should move, strike again, but your eyes are on Varn. He was alive a moment ago, laughing last night about a girl who braided his hair. Now he's gone or close to it. You think of the band, the grief that will come, the songs they'll sing for him. You think of the mammoth, the meat it will provide, the hides and bones that will keep the band alive. Is it worth it? One life for many? You don't know. You don't have time to know. Qui shouts, snapping you out of it. The mammoth is at the edge now, its front legs slipping into the ravine. It trumpets a desperate sound, and you feel it in your gut. You run forward, your knife ready, but before you can strike, the ground gives way. The mammoth falls, its bulk tumbling into the ravine with a crash that echoes across the steppe. Dust rises thick and choking, and for a moment, no one moves. Then Qui raises a spear, a cry of triumph tearing from his throat. The others join him, their voices raw. You stand there, your knife still in hand, blood drying on your skin. You don't cheer. You're not sure why. The dust settles slowly, curling in the air like a ghost reluctant to leave. Your chest heaves, each breath tasting of blood and earth. The mammoth lies in the ravine below, a crumpled heap of fur and bone, its tusks jutting at odd angles. The silence is heavy, broken only by the ragged breathing of the hunters and the faint groan of Arn, still sprawled where the beast struck him. You wipe your knife on your hide pants, the blood smearing into a dark streak. Your hand trembles, not from cold, but from the weight of what just happened. You killed it, or the ravine did, or the band did together. It doesn't matter. The mammoth is dead, and you're alive, though you're not sure if that's a victory or just luck. Qui clambers down the ravine's edge, his spear still in hand, his scar stark against his dirt-streaked face. The others follow, their movements slow, cautious, as if the beast might somehow rise again. You stay where you are, your boots rooted to the frost-crusted ground. Your eyes drift to Varn. He's moving now barely, his hands clutching his side. Blood seeps through his fingers, staining the sedge beneath him. You should go to him, help him, but your legs feel like stone. You think of the modern world for a fleeting moment. Hospitals, ambulances, the sterile hum of machines that could fix a man like Varn in hours. Here, there's only you, the band, and whatever herbs the old ones know to chew. You wonder if he'll make it through the night. A sharp whistle cuts through your thoughts. Qui, standing over the mammoth's body, waves you down. His eyes are bright, almost feverish, and there's a grin on his face that makes your stomach twist. He's proud, or maybe just relieved. You force your legs to move, picking your way down the steep slope, the loose dirt sliding under your boots. The air grows thicker as you descend, heavy with the mammoth's musk and the iron tang of its blood. Up close, the beast is even bigger than you thought, its flank a wall of matted fur, its eye half open, glassy, staring at nothing. You feel a shiver, not from the cold, but from the sudden certainty that it's still watching you, even in death. The hunters gather around, their spears propped against the ravine's walls. There's no cheering now, just a quiet intensity as they begin the work. Qui kneels by the mammoth's head, his knife flashing as he cuts into the hide behind its ear. The blade sinks deep, and a fresh gout of blood spills out, pooling in the dirt. You swallow, your throat dry. You've seen kills before, deer, bison, even a bear once, but this is different. The mammoth feels like more than meat, more than hide and bone. It feels like a story, a piece of the world you've torn away. You wonder if the Grey Watcher, if she's real, is out there now, mourning this loss. Someone hands you a knife, not yours, but heavier, its handle wrapped in sinew. Cut, Qui says, not looking at you. His voice is flat, all business. You nod, though he doesn't see, and kneel by the mammoth's flank. The hide is tough, like leather left too long in the sun, and your knife catches as you saw through it. The smell is overwhelming now, a mix of blood, fat, and something deeper, like the earth itself. Your hands grow slick, and you have to grip the knife harder to keep it steady. You work in silence. The only sounds the wet rip of hide and the low murmurs of the others. Somewhere above, a raven calls, its voice sharp and mocking. You glance up, half expecting to see the Grey Watcher's shadow. But there's only the bird, circling against the pale sky. As you cut, you notice something strange, a mark on the mammoth's hide, not a scar, but a deliberate shape, carved into the fur. It's a spiral, tight and precise, no bigger than your palm. You pause, your knife hovering. The others don't seem to notice, their heads bent over their own tasks. You trace the spiral with a bloody finger, feeling the shallow grooves. It's not natural, not a wound or a birthmark. Someone made this, maybe long ago, before your band ever crossed this step. You think of the stories the elders tell of marks left by the first ones, the people who walked the world when it was still ice. They carve signs on bone and stone, offerings to spirits or warnings to the living. Is this one of those? A blessing? A curse? You don't know, but it makes your skin prickle, like you've stumbled on something you weren't meant to see. You glance at Qui, wondering if you should tell him. He's still cutting, his knife moving with a rhythm that speaks of years at this work. You open your mouth, but before you can speak, a shadow falls across you. Not a cloud, not a bird. You look up, and there she is, not the Grey Watcher, but someone else. A woman older than you, her face lined like cracked clay, her hair a tangle of gray and bone beads. She's not one of your band, not someone you've ever seen at the camp's fire. Her eyes are sharp, too sharp, and they're fixed on the spiral you've uncovered. She doesn't speak, but her presence is heavy, like a storm waiting to break. You freeze, your knife still in the mammoth's hide. The others don't look up, don't seem to notice her. Is she real? Or is she a trick of your exhausted mind? Like a mirage in the heat of a modern desert? She points at the spiral, her finger gnarled, her nail black with dirt. You see it, she says, her voice low, like the wind through dry grass. It's not a question. You nod, barely, your heart thudding. She steps closer, her hide cloak brushing the ground, and you catch a whiff of something sharp, smoke, maybe, or herbs you don't know. It's theirs, not yours, she says. Not ours. Not anyone's. Her eyes flick to the mammoth, then back to you. You took what was marked. Now you carry it. Before you can ask what she means, she turns and walks away, vanishing into the ravine's shadows, as if she were never there. You blink, your breath catching. The others are still cutting, still murmuring, oblivious. You look down at the spiral, half expecting it to be gone, but it's still there, stark against the bloody hide. You want to call out, to ask Qui if he saw her, but your voice sticks in your throat. What would you say? That a stranger appeared, spoke in riddles, and vanished? They'd laugh, or worse, they'd look at you like you've gone soft, like the hunger's addled your mind. You shake your head, forcing yourself back to the work. The knife moves again, slicing through fat and muscle, but your thoughts are elsewhere. What did she mean you carry it? The mammoth? The spiral? Something else? You think of the Grey Watcher, the stories of spirits bound to the steppe. You think of Varn bleeding above, and the boy you saved, and the band waiting for meat. You think of the modern world, where you'd shrug this off as stress, as a glitch in your brain from too many late nights. But here, in this ancient dream, nothing feels like a glitch. Everything feels like a sign. The work goes on, the mammoth's body yielding to your blades. The hunters strip the hide, carve the meat, crack the bones for marrow. You work until your arms ache, until the ravine is a slaughterhouse of blood and bone. Varn is carried up the slope, his face gray, his breathing shallow. You don't look at him. You can't. The band will sing for him tonight or tomorrow if he doesn't wake. You wonder what they'll sing for you, if it comes to that. You wonder about the spiral, the woman, the weight of her words. You wonder if you've killed more than a beast today, if you've taken something you can't give back. The sun is higher now, the frost melting into mud. The hunters are nearly done, their hands red, their faces grim. Qui stands, wiping his knife, and looks at you for the first time since the hunt began. There's no grin now, no mockery. Just a nod, small and sharp, like he's decided you're worth keeping around. You nod back, though you don't feel it. You feel the spiral burning in your mind. You feel the woman's eyes, her voice. You feel the mammoth's weight, not just its body, but something deeper, something you've carried up from the ravine. You don't know what it is, but you know it's yours now, whether you want it or not. The trek back to camp is a blur of weight and ache. Your shoulders burn under the load of mammoth meat, wrapped in hide and slung across your back. Blood seeps through the bundle, warm against your skin, dripping down your spine in slow, sticky trails. The air is thick with the smell of it, coppery, raw, mingling with the frost that still clings to the grass. Your boots sink into the softening earth, each step a struggle against the mud and your own exhaustion. The band moves in a ragged line, their faces drawn, their spears dragging. No one speaks. The triumph of the kill is gone, replaced by the grim reality of what it cost. Varn is carried between two hunters, his head lolling, his blood staining their arms. You don't look at him. You can't. His groans are faint now, barely audible over the crunch of footsteps and the distant caw of ravens trailing your path. The steppe stretches around you, vast and unyielding, its grasses bending under a wind that carries the bite of coming winter. You feel exposed out here, like a speck under the sky's cold eye. The weight of the meat is nothing compared to the weight in your chest, the spiral you saw, the woman's words, the sense that you've stirred something you don't understand. You keep your eyes on the ground, watching for roots or stones, but your mind is elsewhere. You see her face again, the old woman with the bone-beaded hair, her eyes like flint sparking in the dark. You carry it, she said. What? The mammoth's spirit? A curse? You don't believe in curses, not really. But out here, where the world feels older than your bones, it's hard to dismiss anything. Qui walks ahead, his stride long despite the load he carries. He hasn't spoken to you since the ravine, but you feel his presence, sharp as a blade. You wonder what he thinks of you now. Does he see the boy who threw too soon, who nearly got them all killed? Or the one who stood his ground, who drew the mammoth's wrath to save another? You're not sure it matters. Qui's approval isn't what keeps you alive. Still, you catch yourself watching him, the way he scans the horizon, the way his hand never strays far from his knife. He's survived hunts like this before. Maybe he knows what to do with the unease that's clawing at your gut. The camp comes into view as you crest a low hill, a cluster of hide tents huddled against a bend in the river, their shapes blurred by the smoke of a fire. You hear the children before you see them, their voices high and sharp, cutting through the quiet. They run toward you, barefoot despite the cold, their faces smudged with dirt. They shout, not words but sounds, raw with hunger and hope. You manage a tired smile, but it feels like a lie. The meat will feed them, yes, but at what cost? You think of Varn, of the spiral, of the woman who wasn't there when you looked again. You think of the modern world, where a notification ping might pull you from this moment. where you'd trade this weight for the hum of a screen. But there's no screen here, no escape. Just the camp, the band, and the work that never ends. The elders emerge from the tents, their steps slow, their eyes sharp despite their bent backs. One of them, a woman named Sura, raises a hand, her fingers adorned with rings of carved bone. She's the band's memory, the keeper of songs and stories, and her gaze feels like it could peel you open. You lower your eyes, suddenly aware of the blood on your hands, the mud on your face. Sura doesn't speak, but she doesn't need to. Her presence is enough, a reminder that every kill, every hunt, is part of something bigger. You wonder if she knows about the spiral, if she'd seen it before on some other beast, in some other time. You want to ask her, but the words stick in your throat. What would you say? That you saw a stranger who vanished? That you're carrying something you can't name? The band sets to work unloading the meat, the air filling with the sounds of knives and voices. The children hover, wide-eyed, snatching scraps when the adults aren't looking. You help carry the bundles to a pit near the fire, where the women are already preparing to smoke the meat. The smell of burning juniper mixes with the blood, sharp and sweet, and you feel a flicker of relief. This is familiar work, routine, the rhythm of survival. You try to lose yourself in it, to let the spiral and the woman fade like a bad dream. But they don't. They linger, sharp as the flint in your pouch. As you work, you notice a boy watching you, not one of the children, but the one from a hunt, the one who tripped and nearly died. His name is Tay, you think, though you've never spoken to him much. He's thin, all elbows and knees, with eyes too big for his face. He's holding a small bone, whittling it with a dull knife, but his hands are unsteady. You realize he's staring at you, not with gratitude, but with something else. Fear, maybe, or guilt. You saved him, but at what cost? Varn's blood is on his hands as much as yours, and he knows it. You want to say something, to tell him it's not his fault, but you don't. You're not sure it's true. You turn away, focusing on the meat, but Tay's gaze follows you. You feel it like a weight, heavier than the mammoth's hide. You wonder what he'll do with that guilt, if it'll break him or make him sharper, like flint under a hammer. You think of yourself, of the choices you've made today, the stone you threw, the spear you loosed, the knife you drove into the beast. Each one felt right in the moment, but now they sit uneasy, like stones in your stomach. You wonder if Tay feels the same, if he's carrying his own spiral, his own unseen woman. The fire crackles, spitting sparks into the dusk. The band gathers around it, their faces softened by the glow. Sura stands, her bone rings clicking as she raises her hands. She begins a chant, low and rhythmic, a song for the mammoth, for its strength, for the life it's given. The words are old, older than the camp, older than Sura herself. You don't understand them all, but you feel them, vibrating in your chest like the mammoth's bellow. The others join in, their voices weaving together, rough but strong. You try to sing, but your throat is tight, your mind still on the spiral, on Tay, on Varn, who lies in a tent now, his fate uncertain. As the chant fades, Sura reaches into a pouch at her waist and pulls out a small figure, a mammoth carved from bone, no bigger than your thumb. Its tusks are delicate, its trunk curled, and there on its side is a spiral, identical to the one on the beast's side. Your breath catches. You stare, half expecting Sura to look at you, to know what you saw, but she doesn't. She places the figure by the fire, muttering words too soft to hear, and the band falls silent. You feel a chill, not from the night, but from the certainty that the spiral means something, that it's not just a mark but a claim. You think of the woman again, her warning. You carry it. Is this what she meant? This symbol, this story, this weight? You want to ask Sura to pull her aside and spill everything. The woman, the spiral, the unease that's gnawing at you. But what would she say? That you're tired? That the hunt has clouded your mind? Or, worse, that you're right, that you've taken something you shouldn't have? You stay silent, your hands clenched in your lap. The fire pops, sending a spark onto your arm. You brush it off, but the sting lingers, sharp and real. You glance at Tay, still whittling his bone, his eyes on the fire now, not you. You wonder if he saw the spiral too, if he's carrying it in his own way. The night deepens, the stars sharp against the black. The band eats, mammoth meat, roasted quickly, the fat dripping into the fire. It's rich, almost too rich, and your stomach churns even as you swallow. You think of the modern world again, of greasy takeout and the guilt of eating too much. Here, there's no guilt, only gratitude, but it's laced with something darker. You look at the bone mammoth by the fire, its spiral glowing in the flames. You look at Sura, her face unreadable. You look at Tay, his knife still moving, carving something you can't see. You feel the weight again, heavier now. And you know it's not just the meat, not just the hunt. It's something older, something you've woken, something you'll carry whether you want to or not. The fire has dwindled to embers, a faint red glow pulsing in the dark. The camp is quiet now, the band scattered to their tents, their bellies full of mammoth meat for the first time in days. You sit alone by the dying fire, your hands still greasy, the taste of fat lingering on your tongue. The air is cold, sharp with the promise of frost, and you pull your hide cloak tighter, the coarse for scratching your neck. The bone mammoth figurine still sits where Sura left it, its spiral catching the last of the light. You can't stop looking at it. It feels like it's looking back, though its carved eyes are just hollows. You tell yourself it's just bone, just a trinket, but the unease in your gut says otherwise. The woman's words echo in your mind, you carry it, and you wonder if this is what she meant, this tiny, spiraled thing that seems to hold more weight than the beast you killed. The camp feels different tonight, heavier, like the air itself is holding its breath. You hear the river in the distance, its low rush blending with the snores from a tents. Somewhere an owl hoots, sharp and sudden, and you flinch, your hand twitching toward the knife at your thigh. You're not usually this jumpy. The hunt has left you raw, your nerves frayed like a worn rope. You think of the modern world for a moment, of scrolling through a phone to drown out the quiet, of lights that banish the dark. Here, the dark is a living thing pressing against you, and the only light is the ember's glow, too weak to push it back. A shadow moves at the edge of the camp, and your heart stutters. You squint, half expecting the gray watcher or the old woman from the ravine, but it's just Tay, the boy from the hunt. He's carrying his whittled bone, his fingers still working it, though the knife looks too big for his hands. He doesn't see you at first, his eyes on the ground, his steps hesitant. You watch him, wondering why he's awake, why he's not curled up in a tent like the others. He stops by the river's edge, just beyond the fire's light, and kneels, his silhouette small against the vastness of the steppe. You should call out, check on him, but something holds you back. There's a weight to his movements, a purpose you don't understand. You rise, careful not to make a sound, and creep closer. The grass hisps against your boots. The cold bites at your face, your breath fogging in small clouds. Tay is muttering now, too soft to hear, his hands moving over the bone. You catch a glimpse of what he's carved, a shape, rough but unmistakable. A mammoth, like Sura's, but cruder, its trunk a jagged line. and there on its side, a spiral scratched deep into the bone. Your stomach lurches. Did he see it too, on the beast's side? Or is this something else, something the step itself whispered to him? You think of the woman's warning, of the spiral's pull. You wonder if Tay is carrying it too, if it's marked him the way it's marked you. He dips the bone into the river, letting the water wash over it. The current catches the carving, tugging it from his hands, and for a moment you think he'll let it go, let the river take it. But he snatches it back, clutching it to his chest, his shoulders shaking. Is he crying? You can't tell. You want to step forward, to ask what he's doing, what the spiral means to him. But your feet won't move. You're an intruder here, witnessing something private, something sacred. You think of the modern world again, of oversharing on screens, of secrets spilled for likes. Here, secrets are heavier, sharper, like flint in your palm. You stay still, your breath shallow, watching as Tay rises and slips back toward the tents, the bone hidden in his fist. You return to the fire, your legs unsteady. The bone mammoth is still there, its spiral gleaming. You want to pick it up, to feel its weight, to see if it holds answers, but you don't. It's Sura's, not yours, and touching it feels like crossing a line you can't uncross. You sit, the ground cold through your hides, and stare into the embers. The hunt feels far away now, the mammoths bellow a memory, but its shadow lingers. You think of Varn, still clinging to life in a tent, his blood on your hands as much as Tay's. You think of Kui, his nod, his silence. You think of a woman, her eyes, her words. And now Tay, carving spirals in the dark, offering them to the river like a prayer or a plea. A sound breaks your thoughts, a low hum, not from the camp, but from the step beyond. You freeze, your hand on your knife. It's not an animal, not a wind. It's human, a voice soft and rhythmic, like Sura's chant but stranger older. You stand, your heart thudding, and peer into the dark. The step is a sea of shadows, the grass swaying like waves. You see nothing, but the hum grows louder, weaving through the air, pulling at you. You take a step, then another, drawn toward it despite the fear curling in your gut. The camp fades behind you. The fires glow a distant memory. You're alone now, just you and the step and that voice calling you deeper. The ground slopes downward, leading to a hollow where the grass thins and the earth is bare, packed hard by time or feet. The hum is clearer here, a woman's voice, though you can't make out the words. You see her then, not the woman from the ravine, but another, younger, her hair long and black, woven with feathers. She kneels in the hollow, her hands tracing patterns in the dirt, spirals, dozens of them, etched in tight, overlapping coils. She doesn't look up, doesn't seem to notice you, but you feel seen, exposed, like she's been waiting for you. Your mouth is dry, your knife heavy in your hand. You want to run, to hide, but the hum holds you, rooting you to the spot. She's singing to the spirals, her voice rising and falling, a language you don't know but feel in your bones. The air is thick with the smell of earth and something sharper, charred bone, maybe, or herbs burned long ago. You notice a pile of stones at her side, each one marked with a spiral, worn smooth by hands or wind. They're old, older than the camp, older than the river. You think of the first ones, the people Sura sings of, who walked the ice and left their marks. Is she one of them? A spirit? A dream? You don't know, but you're sure she's tied to the spiral, to the mammoth, to the weight you've carried since the hunt. You see, she says suddenly, her voice cutting through the hum, though her eyes stay on the dirt. You flinch, your knife slipping in your sweaty palm. She doesn't look at you, but her words are for you, sharp as a blade. You took. You marked. You owe. Her fingers pause, hovering over spiral, and the air feels heavier, like a storm about to break. You want to ask what you owe, what you took, but your voice is gone, swallowed by the step. She traces another spiral, her nails scraping the earth, and you see it then, a flicker in the dirt, a shadow that isn't hers, moving like a beast, tusked and massive. You blink, and it's gone, but your heart is racing, your breath ragged. She stands, her feathers rustling, and finally looks at you. Her eyes are dark, too dark, like the river at midnight. The spiral turns, she says. It always turns. You can't outrun it. She steps toward you, and you stumble back, your boot catching on a stone. You fall, the ground hard against your back, and when you look up, she's gone. The hollow is empty, the spiral still there, etched in the dirt like a warning. The hum is gone too, replaced by the wind, cold and sharp. You lie there panting, your knife still in your hand, the steps stretching around you, vast and indifferent. You scramble to your feet, your legs shaking, and run back to the camp, the grass whipping your legs. The fire is out now, the bone mammoth barely visible in the dark. You collapse by the embers, your breath hitching, and look at the figurine. Its spiral seems to pulse, or maybe that's just your eyes, tired and wild. You think of Tay, his carving, his offering to the river. You think of the woman in the hollow, her spirals, her words. You think of the mammoth, the hunt, the blood. You think of the modern world, where you'd call this a nightmare, where you'd wake to a screen and forget. But here, there's no waking, no forgetting. There's only the spiral, turning, and the debt you owe, though you don't know to whom or why. The dawn breaks gray and heavy, the sky bruised with clouds that promise snow. You haven't slept, not really, just a fitful doze by the dead fire, the bone mammoth's spiral haunting your dreams. Your eyes burn, gritty with exhaustion, and your body aches from the hunt, the trek, the weight of the meat you carried. The camp is stirring now, the air filled with the low murmur of voices, the crackle of a new fire, the sharp scent of roasting marrow. You sit on the cold ground, your hide cloak damp with dew, and try to shake the memory of the woman in the hollow, her spirals, her words. You owe, she said, and the phrase clings to you like damp ash, impossible to brush off. You flex your hands, still stained with mammoth blood, and wonder what debt you've taken on, what the step expects of you now. The band moves with purpose, the rhythm of survival pulling them from their tents. The women are scraping hides, their flint tools scraping in steady, practiced strokes. The children dart between them, chasing each other with sticks, their laughter sharp but fleeting. You watch them, your mind drifting to Tay, the boy with the carved bone. You haven't seen him since last night, when he slipped back to the tents, his spiral hidden in his fist. You wonder where he is, what he's doing, if he's as haunted as you are. You think of the modern world for a moment, of kids glued to screens, oblivious to the weight of the world. Here, the weight is all there is, hunger cold, the spiral that seems to follow you like a shadow. You rise, your joints protesting, and head toward the river to wash the blood from your hands. The water is icy, stinging your skin, and you scrub harder than you need to, as if you could wash away the hunt, the woman, the unease. The current is strong, tugging at your fingers, and you think of Tay's bone, how he held it to the river, how he pulled it back. You look downstream, half expecting to see it floating, but there's nothing, just ripples and the glint of morning light. You dry your hands on your cloak and turn back to the camp, your stomach twisting. You need to eat, to work, to do something to drown out the hum of your thoughts. As you near the fire, you spot Surah, the elder, kneeling by a pile of mammoth bones. She's sorting them, her hands deft despite their age, separating the ones for tools from the ones for the fire. The bone mammoth figurine is tucked into her belt, its spiral hidden against her high dress. You hesitate, wanting to ask her about it, about the mark on the beast, about the women you've seen. But her face is stern, focused, and you lose your nerve. Instead, you grab a piece of roasted meat from the fire, the fat still warm, and chew slowly, the flavor rich but heavy. It should feel like a victory, this meal, but it doesn't. It feels like a debt, like every bite is a promise you didn't mean to make. A shout breaks the morning quiet, sharp and urgent. You turn, the meat half chewed in your mouth, and see Qui striding toward the camp's edge, his spear in hand. The other hunters are gathering, their faces tight with worry. You drop the meat and jog over, your heart thudding. Qui's eyes are narrowed, scanning the steppe, and you follow his gaze. There on the horizon is a smudge of movement, not animals, not wind, but people. Strangers. Your stomach drops. The band has seen others before, traders or wanderers, but never this close to camp. Never so soon after a kill. The mammoth's meat is a beacon, its scent carried on the wind. And you know what that means. Hunger draws strangers like ravens to a corpse. The band gathers, the air thick with tension. Sura stands, her bone rings clicking, and murmurs something to Qui. He nods, his jaw tight, and gestures for the hunters to spread out. You fall in beside them, your knife at your thigh, your pulse hammering. The strangers are closer now, maybe 10 of them, their shapes sharpening against the gray sky. They're dressed in hides like yours, but their spears are different, shorter, tipped with bone instead of flint. You notice one of them, taller than the rest, with a cloak adorned with feathers, black, like the ones in the hair of the woman from the hollow. Your breath catches. Is it her? No, this one is broader, their movements heavier, but the feathers are too similar, too deliberate. You feel the spirals wait again, burning in your mind. Qui raises a hand, signaling the band to stop. The strangers do the same, their leader, the one with the feathers, stepping forward. Their face is hidden by a hood, but their voice is clear, low, and steady. We smell your kill, they say, not a question but a statement. We've walked far. Our children are thin. The words are simple, but they carry a challenge, a test. You glance at Qui, waiting for his response. His scar twitches, his hand tight on his spear. The band has enough meat to share, but sharing means less for the winter, less for the children here. You think of Varn bleeding in his tent, of Tay carving his guilt into bone. You think of the modern world, where you'd negotiate over coffee, not spears, where generosity doesn't mean starvation. Sura steps forward, her presence calming the air. We've lost one to the hunt, she says, her voice firm but not unkind. The meat is ours, paid in blood. The stranger's leader tilts their head, considering. You notice their hand, resting on a pouch at their waist, and catch a glimpse of something inside. A bone carved, spiraled. Your heart skips. Another spiral, another mark. Is it coincidence? Or is the step weaving you all together, hunters and strangers, into something you can't escape? You want to speak, to ask, but your voice is locked in your throat. Qui shifts beside you, his eyes flicking to yours, and you realize he's noticed your tension. He doesn't say anything, but his look is a warning. Stay sharp, stay quiet. The stranger's leader speaks again, their tone softer, but no less firm. We don't seek to take. We offer trade. They pull a bundle from their cloak, skins tightly rolled, and a small pouch that rattles with what might be beads or tools. Sura nods, but her eyes are wary. Trade is safer than fighting, but it's still a risk. You've heard stories of bands betrayed, of trades turned to ambushes. You glance at the strangers, trying to read their faces, but they're too far, too shadowed. The feather-clad leader is watching you, though their gaze heavy, like they know something you don't. You think of the woman in the hollow, her spirals, her warning. You think of the bone mammoth, of Tay's carving, of the mark on the beast's side. You feel like you're standing on the edge of something vast, something that could swallow you whole. Qui lowers a spear, just a fraction, and the tension eases, though it doesn't break. "Show us," he says, nodding to the bundle. The stranger's leader steps closer, their feathers rustling, and you catch a whiff of smoke, sharp and familiar, like the herbs from the ravine. They unroll the skins, fox, wolf, finely tanned, and open the pouch, revealing beads of polished stone, each one etched with a tiny spiral. Your breath catches again, louder this time, and Qui glances at you, his brow furrowed. You shake your head, trying to play it off, but your mind is racing. The spirals are everywhere, on the mammoth, on Tay's bone, in the hollow. Now here. They're a thread, tying you to the hunt, to the strangers, to something older than the camp. Sura examines the goods, her fingers tracing the beads. She doesn't react to the spirals, or if she does, she hides it well. "Fair," she says at last, and gestures to the meat pit. "A share, not all." The stranger's leader nods, and the exchange begins, the band moving with careful efficiency. You help carry a bundle of meat, your hands slick with fat, and try to focus on the task, but your eyes keep drifting to the feathers, to the spiraled beads. You want to ask the stranger about them, about the mark, about what it means. But asking feels dangerous, like stepping into a river you can't swim. You stay silent, your knife heavy at your side, the step watching, waiting. As the strangers prepare to leave, their leader pauses, their eyes finding yours again. They don't speak, but they reach into their pouch and pull out a single bead, spiraled, and press it into your palm. Their touch is cold, their fingers rough, and you feel a jolt, like the air before a storm. "For the debt," they whisper, so soft only you can hear. Then they're gone, their band fading into the steppe, the feathers a dark speck against the gray. You stand there, the bead heavy in your hand, its spiral sharp under your thumb. "You owe," the woman said. "For the debt," the stranger said. You look at the camp, at Sura, at Qui, at the meat that will keep you alive. You look at the bead, and you know the spiral isn't done with you yet. The bead burns in your palm, its spiral pressing into your skin like a brand. You stand at the camp's edge, watching the strangers vanish into the steppe's gray haze, their feathers a fading smudge against the horizon. The wind carries their scent, smoke, hide, and something sharper, like crushed herbs, and it lingers, curling into your lungs. Your fingers close around the bead, its edges biting, and you feel a pulse, not yours but something else, something tied to the spiral, to the mammoth, to the women who've haunted you since the hunt. "For the debt," the stranger whispered, and the words sit heavy, like stones in your chest. You want to throw the bead into the river, let the current take it, but your hand won't open. It's yours now, whether you like it or not. The camp hums behind you, the band settling back into its rhythm. The fire crackles, spitting fat from the meat roasting over it, and the air is thick with the smell of marrow and smoke. You hear the children laughing, the women's knives scraping hides, the low murmur of the elders by the tents. It should feel normal, safe, but it doesn't. The bead is a weight, a reminder of the spiral's reach, and you can't shake the sense that you've brought something back from the hunt, something that doesn't belong in this camp, something that's watching you even now. You glance at the sky, half expecting to see the gray watcher's shadow or the feather-clad stranger's silhouette, but there's only the clouds, heavy and low, promising snow. You slip the bead into your pouch next to your flint knife and head back to the fire. Your boots sink into the mud, the ground softened by the day's weak sun. Qui is there, sharpening his spear, his scar pale against his flushed face. He doesn't look up, but you feel his attention, sharp as ever. You wonder if he saw the bead, if he heard the stranger's whisper. You want to tell him to spill everything. The spiral on the mammoth, the woman in the ravine, the singer in the hollow, the bead, but the words stick in your throat. Qui's not the type to listen to ghost stories. He'd laugh, or worse, he'd look at you like you're cracking, like the step's gotten into your head. Maybe it has. You sit by the fire, the heat stinging your face, and try to focus on the meat in your hands. It's tough, still warm, and you chew slowly, the fat coating your tongue. The band is eating too, their faces softened by the meal, but there's a tension beneath it, a quiet that wasn't there before the strangers came. You notice Sura watching you from across the fire, her bone rings glinting, the mammoth figurine still tucked into her belt. Her eyes are sharp, like she sees the bead through your pouch, like she knows what you're carrying. You look away, your stomach twisting. You think of Tay, his carved bone, his spiral. You haven't seen him all morning, and the absence gnaws at you. Is he avoiding you? Or is he out there, by the river, offering more secrets to the water? A low moan cuts through the camp, raw and pained. Varn. You freeze, the meat halfway to your mouth. The sound comes from a tent at the camp's edge, where the women have been tending him since the hunt. You've avoided that tent, avoided the truth of what the mammoth's trunk did to him. The moan comes again, weaker, and you feel it in your gut, like a blade twisting. You saved Tay, but Varn paid the price. His blood spilled for a boy's mistake, for your scream, for your spear. You think of the modern world, of hospitals and guilt buried under paperwork. Here, guilt is a living thing, staring you down in the firelight, demanding you face it. You stand, your legs unsteady, and head toward the tent. The band watches, their eyes flickering with something, pity, maybe, or judgment. Qui pauses his sharpening, his knife hovering, but he doesn't speak. You don't look at him. You don't look at Sura. You focus on the tent, its hide flap stained with blood, its edges fluttering in the wind. The air grows colder as you approach, the smell of herbs and rot seeping through the seams. You hesitate, your hand on the flap, and for a moment you're back in the ravine, the mammoth's eye on you, the spiral gleaming in its hide. You push the thought down and step inside. The tent is dim, the air thick with the scent of crushed roots and smoke. Varn lies on a bed of hides, his chest wrapped in strips of leather, stained dark with blood. His face is gray, his eyes half open, unfocused. A woman kneels beside him, not one you know well. Liar, maybe, with hair braided tight and hands steady as she presses a poultice to his side. She doesn't look up, her focus on Varn, but you feel her presence, heavy with purpose. You kneel too, your knees sinking into the dirt floor, and stare at Varn's face. He was loud, brash, the kind of man who filled the camp with his voice. Now he's small, broken, a shadow of himself. You wonder if he blames you, if he knows what you did to save Tay. Liar speaks, her voice low, barely above a whisper. He's fighting. She says, not to you but to the air, to the spirits, maybe. But the wound is deep. The mammoth's strength lingers in him. You swallow, your throat tight. You want to ask if he'll live, but the question feels like a betrayal, like you're already giving up on him. Instead, you reach out, your hand hovering over his, but you don't touch him. Your fingers are still stained, still carrying the mammoth's blood, and it feels wrong to lay that on him now. You think of the bead in your pouch, the spiral's weight. Is this part of the debt? Varn's life, hanging by a thread because of you? Lyre pauses, her hand still, and pulls something from her pouch. A small clay disc, no bigger than your palm, etched with a spiral. Your breath catches, sharp enough that she glances at you, her eyes narrowing. She doesn't speak, but she holds the disc over Varn, muttering words you don't understand. A chant like Sura's, but softer, more desperate. The spiral glints in the dim light, and you feel it again, that pulse, that pull, like the step itself is breathing through it. You want to ask her about it, to demand what it means, why it's everywhere. But your voice is gone, swallowed by the tense, heavy air. Lyre sets the disc on Varn's chest over the bandages and resumes her work, as if you're not there. You stumble out of the tent, your head spinning. The camp feels too small, too close, the fire's smoke choking you. You walk, not caring where, until you're at the river again. Its rush louder now, angrier. You kneel, the cold biting your knees, and pull the bead from your pouch. Its spiral is sharp, precise, like the one on Lyre's disc, on Tay's bone, on the mammoth hide. You hold it to the water, like Tay did, and for a moment you think about letting go, letting the river take it, take the debt, take the spiral. But you don't. You can't. It's yours, marked for you, and the step won't let you run from it. You hear footsteps behind you, soft but deliberate. You turn, expecting Qui or Sura, but it's Tay. His face pale, his eyes red-rimmed. He's holding his carved bone, the spiral stark against the rough surface. He doesn't speak, just stand there, watching you, his breath fogging in the cold. You hold up the bead, and his eyes widen, his fingers tightening around his bone. You saw it, he says, his voice barely audible over the river. It's not a question. You nod, your throat tight. What does it mean, you ask, though you're not sure you want the answer. Tay shakes his head, his lips trembling. I don't know, he says. But it's heavy. It's always heavy. You want to say more, to tell him about the women, the spirals, the debt, but a shout from the camp cuts you off. It's Qui, his voice sharp with urgency. You and Tay run back, the bead still in your hand, the bone still in his. The band is gathered by the fire, their faces grim. Sura stands, her bone mammoth in her hands, its spiral gleaming. The strangers, she says, her voice steady but cold. They've left something behind. She points to the ground, where a pile of stones sits, each one etched with a spiral, arranged in a tight, deliberate coil. Your heart sinks. The debt, the spiral, the strangers, they're not done with you. And you know with a certainty that chills you, that you're not done with them either. The stones lie in a perfect spiral, their etched coils glinting in the firelight like the eyes of something ancient. You stand frozen, the bead still clutched in your hand, its own spiral a mirror to the ones before you. Tay is beside you, his carved bone trembling in his fist, his breath shallow and quick. The band is silent, their faces a mix of fear and defiance, their eyes darting from the stones to Sura, who holds her bone mammoth figurine, as if it could ward off whatever this is. The air feels thick, heavy with the threat of snow, and something darker, something that's followed you from the hunt, from the ravine, from the hollow. The strangers are gone, but their mark is here, carved into the step, and you know, with a certainty that knots your gut, that this is no accident. They left this for you, for the band, for the debt you've yet to pay. Sura kneels by the stones, her bone rings clicking, her face unreadable. She doesn't touch them, just studies them, her eyes tracing the spirals as if they speak a language she's forgotten. You want to ask her what it means, what the strangers want, but your voice is locked in your throat, strangled by the weight of the bead in your hand. Qui steps forward, his spear gripped tight, his scar stark against his flushed face. "We should smash them," he says, his voice low but firm. "Bury them. They're a threat." A few hunters nod, their hands twitching toward their knives, but Sura raises a hand, silencing them. "Not yet," she says, her tone sharp as flint. "We don't know what they carry." You glance at Tay, his eyes wide, his lips parted like he wants to speak, but can't. You know what he's thinking, because it's what you're thinking too. The spirals are everywhere, on the mammoth, on his bone, on your bead, in the hollow, now here. They're a thread, weaving you into something bigger, something you don't understand but can't escape. You think of the modern world for a fleeting moment, of algorithms that track your every move, of notifications that demand your attention. This is different, older, but just as relentless, just as suffocating. You slip the bead back into your pouch, hoping no one notices, but Sura's eyes flick to you, and you feel exposed, like she sees the debt you're carrying, the spiral you've hidden. The camp is tense. The fires crackle, the only sound breaking the silence. The children have been ushered to the tents, their laughter gone, and the women stand at the edges, their knives still in hand from scraping hides. You notice Lyre, the healer, near Varn's tent, her face pale, her hands stained with the herbs she's been using to keep him alive. You wonder if he's heard the shouts, if he knows about the stones, if he's still fighting or slipping away. The thought of Varn twists something in you, guilt, yes, but also anger, at Tay for tripping, at yourself for throwing too soon, at the mammoth for fighting back. You push it down, but it festers, sharp as the frost in the air. Sura stands, her bone mammoth tucked back into her belt. "We watch," she says, her voice carrying the weight of years, of hunts, of winters survived. "We guard the camp. If they return, we'll know why they left this." She points to the stones, her finger steady, but you see a flicker in her eyes, a crack in her certainty. She's afraid, or at least wary, and that scares you more than the stones themselves. Sura is the band's memory, the one who knows the songs, the spirits, the step secrets. If she's unsure, what chance do you have? Qui organizes the hunters, his commands sharp and efficient. You're paired with him, tasked with watching the step from the hill above the camp. You don't argue, though you'd rather stay by the fire, away from the dark, where the gray watcher or the feather-clad stranger might be waiting. You grab your spear, its shaft worn smooth by your hands, and follow Qui, your boots crunching on the frost-crusted grass. The hill is steep, the wind colder up here, and you feel the bead in your pouch, a small, heavy thing that seems to pull at you with every step. Tay watches you go, his bone still in his hand, his eyes haunted. You want to say something to him, to tell him it's not his fault, but there's no time, and you're not sure it's true. The steppe stretches before you, vast and gray, its grasses bending under the wind. You and Qui settle behind a cluster of rocks, your spears propped against a stone, your eyes scanning the horizon. The clouds are heavier now, the air thick with the promise of snow. You can smell it, sharp and clean, mingling with the faint musk of the camp's fire below. Qui is silent, his breath fogging in slow, steady clouds, but you feel his tension, his readiness. You wonder what he's thinking, if he's worried about the strangers, the stones, or something else. You think of asking him about the spiral, about the bead, but his silence is a wall, and you don't know how to breach it. The dark deepens, the stars hidden by clouds. You shift, your legs numb from the cold, and pull your cloak tighter. The step is quiet, too quiet. The only sound's a wind and the distant rush of the river. You think of the woman in the hollow, her spirals, her song. You think of the stranger's feathers, the bead's weight. You think of Varn, of Tay, of the mammoth's eye, staring even in death. The spiral is everywhere, a mark that binds you to the hunt, to the band, to the step itself. You want to believe it's nothing, just a pattern, just a coincidence. But the step doesn't deal in coincidences. Everything here has a purpose, a price. A sound breaks the silence, a low hum, faint but growing, like the one you heard in the hollow. You stiffen, your hand tightening on your spear. Qui hears it too, his head snapping up, his eyes narrowing. "What is that?" he mutters, his voice barely audible. You don't answer, because you know or you think you know. It's her, the singer, or someone like her, tied to the spirals, to the debt. The hum grows louder, weaving through the wind, and you see it then, a flicker of movement, not on the horizon but closer, in the grass below the hill. A shadow, low and deliberate, moving toward the camp. You point, your heart thudding, and Qui nods, his spear already in hand. You creep down the hill, staying low, the grass hissing against your legs. The hum is clearer now, a woman's voice, soft but insistent, singing words you don't understand but feel in your bones. The shadow pauses, and you see her, not the singer from the hollow, not the stranger with the feathers, but another, older. Her hair white as frost, her cloak patched with bones. She's kneeling by the river, her hands tracing spirals in the mud, just like the others. She doesn't see you, or if she does, she doesn't care. Her song is for the step, for the spirals, for something you've woken but can't name. Qui hisses, his spear raised, but you grab his arm, shaking your head. You don't know why, but you know she's not a threat, not yet. She's part of this, part of the spiral's pull, and killing her feels like cutting your own thread. Qui glares at you, his scar twitching, but he lowers his spear just a fraction. You watch her, your breath shallow, as she finishes her spiral and stands, her bones rattling in the wind. She turns, her eyes finding yours, and you feel a jolt, like the moment you threw your spear, like the bead's weight in your hand. You carry it, she says, her voice clear despite the distance, despite the wind. You choose how it ends. She walks away, her shadow swallowed by the step, and the hum fades, leaving only the wind. Qui curses under his breath, his spear still in hand, but he doesn't follow her. You don't either. You're trembling, not from a cold, but from her words, from the certainty that the spiral is yours now, not just to carry, but to resolve. You think of the modern world, of choices made in boardrooms, of consequences buried under emails. Here, choices are blood, are bone, are spirals that don't let go. You look at Qui, his face hard, and wonder if he'd understand, if he'd believe you. You don't ask. You head back to the hill, the bead heavy in your pouch, the spiral turning in your mind, and you know the step is waiting for your choice, whatever it may be. The wind howls down from the hill, carrying flecks of snow that sting your face like tiny blades. You and Qui trudge back to the camp, your spear heavy in your hand, the bead in your pouch a constant weight against your thigh. The old woman's words, you choose how it ends, burn in your mind, sharper than the cold. You keep your eyes on the ground, watching the frost-crusted grass bend under your boots, but you feel the step's gaze, vast and unblinking, as if it's waiting for you to act, to decide. Qui is silent, his scar a pale slash in the dim light, but you sense his unease, his suspicion. He didn't hear what she said, not clearly, but he saw the spirals. And he's wondering what you've dragged into the band's world. You wonder too, but there's no turning back, no dropping the bead or the debt it carries. The camp is awake, the fire blazing against the gathering dark. The stones with their etched spirals still sit by the fire, untouched, a silent challenge no one dares to meet. Sura stands near them, her bone mammoth figurine in her hands, her face lined with a weariness you haven't seen before. The band is gathered, their voices low, their eyes darting to the step as if expecting the strangers to return, or something worse. You notice Tay at the edge of the crowd, his carved bone tucked into his belt, his face pale and drawn. He meets your gaze for a moment, and you see it, the same fear, the same weight, the spiral binding you both. You want to pull him aside, to ask what he knows, what he's seen, but Qui's hand on your shoulder steers you toward the fire, his grip firm, almost a warning. Sura raises her voice, cutting through the murmurs. "The stones stay," she says, her tone final, like a door slamming shut. "We don't touch them until we know their purpose." A few hunters shift uneasy, their hands twitching toward their spears, but no one argues. Sura's word is law, her memory the band's anchor, and even Qui, for all his bravado, bows to it. You glance at the stones, their spirals gleaming in the firelight, and feel the bead in your pouch pulse. Or maybe that's just your heart, hammering too fast. You think of the modern world, of warning signs ignored, of red flags buried under excuses. Here, the signs are carved in stone, in bone, in your skin, and ignoring them feels like inviting the steppe to swallow you whole. The camp settles into a tense rhythm. Hunters sharpening spears, women smoking meat, children huddling in tents as the snow begins to fall in earnest. You're tasked with guarding the meat pit, a shallow trench filled with mammoth flesh, its smell thick and heavy despite the cold. You stand there, your spear propped against a rock, your cloak dusted with snow, and try to focus on the task, but your mind is elsewhere. The old woman's voice, the singer's the stranger's whisper, they weave together, a song you can't unhear, a debt you can't unowe. You think of Varn, still clinging to life, of Tay, carving his guilt, of the mammoth's eye, staring even in death. You think of the spiral, turning always turning, and you wonder what choice you're supposed to make, what ending you're supposed to shape. A shadow moves at the camp's edge, and you tense, your hand on your knife. It's not the Grey Watcher, not the old woman, but a man, one of the band's quieter hunters, named Kor. He's older, his hair streaked with gray, his eyes always distant, like he's seeing something the rest of you can't. You've never spoken to him much. He keeps to himself, carving tools or tending the fire, but now he's watching you. His gaze steady, unnerving. He steps closer, his hide boots silent on the snow, and you notice something in his hand, a small bundle, wrapped in leather, tied with sinew. "You've seen them," he says, his voice low, rough, like he hasn't spoken in days. "The spirals." You freeze, your breath catching. How does he know? Did Tay tell him? Did Sura? Or is the spiral written on you, plain as the blood on your hands? You nod, barely, your fingers tightening around your knife. Cor doesn't smile, doesn't move closer, but he holds out the bundle, his hand steady despite the cold. "Take it," he says. "You need to know." You hesitate, the bead heavy in your pouch, the old woman's words ringing in your ears. But you take the bundle, its weight surprising, like it holds more than leather and sinew. Cor nods, his eyes flicking to the step, and then he's gone, slipping back into the snow, leaving you alone with the meat and the bundle and the spiral's pull. You kneel by the meat pit, the snow soaking through your cloak, and untie the bundle with trembling hands. Inside is a slab of bone, flat and smooth, etched with a single intricate spiral, larger than the others, its coils tight and deep. Around it are smaller marks, lines, dots, shapes you don't recognize, like a map or a story. Your heart races, the cold forgotten, as you trace the spiral with your finger, feeling its grooves, its age. This is old, older than the camp, older than Sura's songs. You think of the first ones, the people who walked the ice, who left their marks on the world. Is this theirs? And why did Cor give it to you? Why now? The snow falls heavier, blanketing the camp, muffling the fire's crackle. You wrap the bone back in its leather, tucking it into your cloak, and stand, your spear in hand. The meat pit is secure, but you feel exposed, like the steppe is watching, like the spiral is alive, breathing through the bone, through the bead, through you. You head back to the fire, the bundle heavy against your chest, and find Sura there, her eyes on the stones, her bone mammoth still in her hands. She doesn't look at you, but you feel her awareness, sharp as a blade. You want to show her the bone, to ask what it means, but something stops you, Kor's silence, his distance, his choice to give it to you. Not her. The night deepens, the snow piling around the tents. You sit by the fire, the bundle hidden, the bead in your pouch, the spiral turning in your mind. The band is quiet, their faces drawn, their eyes on the stones, or the steppe, or each other. You notice Tay again, sitting alone, his carved bone in his lap, his fingers tracing its spiral. You think of approaching him, of showing him the bone, but Qui's voice cuts through the quiet, sharp and urgent. Tracks, he says, pointing to the snow beyond the camp. Fresh. Not ours. The band stirs, spears raised, eyes wide. You follow Qui to the camp's edge, your heart pounding, the bundle still against your chest. The tracks are clear, even in the snow, boots, not hooves, leading away from the camp and back toward the steppe. The strangers, or someone like them. You think of the feather-clad leader, the old woman, the singer in the hollow. You think of Cor, his bundle, his words. The tracks curve toward the river, where the snow is thinner, and you see something else, a single stone, left in the tracks, its spiral stark against the white. Your breath catches, the bead and the bone heavy, the debt heavier still. Qui curses, his spear raised. But you know this isn't a fight, not yet. It's a message, a call, and it's for you. You want to follow the tracks, to find the strangers, to demand answers. But Sura's voice stops you, calm but unyielding. We wait, she says. The steppe will show us. You glance at Tay, his eyes on the stone, his bone in his hand. You glance at Qui, his face hard, his spear ready. You glance at the bundle, hidden in your cloak, and feel the spiral's pulse, its demand. You choose how it ends, the old woman said, but you don't know what that means, what you're choosing between. You think of the modern world, of decisions made in panic, of consequences that haunt. Here, the consequences are carved in bone, in stone, in snow, and you know, as the tracks fade into the dark, that your choice is coming, whether you're ready or not. The snow falls thicker now, a white shroud burying the camp, the fire, the spiraled stones. You stand at the edge of the tracks, the stranger's single stone heavy in your hand, its etched coil biting into your palm. The bead in your pouch, the bone slab in your cloak, Tay's carved mammoth, Sura's figurine, all pulse with the same rhythm, a heartbeat older than the steppe itself. The band is behind you, their spears raised, their breath fogging in the cold, but their voices are distant, swallowed by the wind's howl. Qui's eyes bore into you, demanding action. demanding you follow the tracks, confront the strangers, end this. Sura's gaze is heavier, not with anger, but with expectation, as if she knows what you carry, what you must do. Tay lingers at the back, his bone clutched tight, his face a mirror of your own fear, your own debt. You've been running from the spiral, from the women, from the weight, but there's no running now. The step has called you, and you must answer. You take a step, then another. The snow crunching under your boots, the tracks leading you away from the camp, toward the river's black ribbon. The air is sharp, smelling of frost and something deeper, like charred bone or forgotten blood. Your spear is heavy, its flint tip glinting in the dim light, but it feels useless, a child's toy against the vastness of what you face. The tracks are fresh, the stranger's boots deep, deliberate, as if they knew you'd follow, as if they've been waiting all along. You think of the modern world, of traps set with clicks and code, of choices made without seeing the cost. Here, the cost is carved in your skin, in the spiral's turn, and you understand now why surviving here is impossible, not because of the cold, the hunger, or the beasts, but because the step demands more than your body. It demands your soul. The river looms ahead, its rush louder, angrier, cutting through the snow's hush. The tracks end at its bank, where the water churns, dark and hungry. You stop, your breath hitching, and see it, a circle of stones, larger than the one by the fire, each one etched with a spiral, arranged in a coil so tight it seems to pulse, to breathe. At its center is a figure, not stone but bone, a mammoth twice the size of Sura's, its tusk sharp, its spiral glowing like a wound. You feel it before you see it, a pull, a weight, like the step is drawing you in, demanding you step into the circle, into the debt. Your hand trembles, the stranger's stone slipping in your grip, and you hear it again, the hum, the song, the voices of the women weaving together, calling you. You turn, expecting Kui, Sura, the band, but they're gone. The camp is a faint glow, barely visible through the snow, and you're alone, or nearly so. Tay stands a few paces back, his bone in his hand, his eyes wide with terror and resolve. You feel it, he says, his voice breaking, and you nod because you do, because the spiral is in you both, a mark you can't erase. You want to tell him to run, to go back to the camp, but you know he won't. No, he's as bound as you are. The hum grows louder, and you see them now, shadows in the snow, not the strangers, not the band, but the women, all of them. The one from the ravine, the singer in the hollow, the old one from the hill, their eyes dark, their hands tracing spirals in the air, in the snow, in your mind. You choose. They say, their voices one, echoing the old woman's words, the stranger's whisper, the step's demand. Pay the debt or carry it forever. You stagger, the snow cold against your knees, the stone, the bead, the bone slab burning in your hands, your cloak, your soul. You see the mammoth's eye, Varn's blood, Tay's guilt, your scream, all tied to the spiral, to the debt you took when you threw that spear, when you killed the beast, when you saw the mark. You understand now why surviving here is impossible. Because every choice is a debt, every life a cost, every hunt a curse you can't outrun. You look at the circle, the bone mammoth, the spirals, and you know what they want, what the step demands. A life for a life, a soul for a soul. You could step into the circle, offer yourself, let the spiral take you, let it end the debt, save the band, save Tay, save Varn, if he's still alive. Or you could run, carry the debt, let it haunt you, let it spread, let the spiral turn until it consumes the camp, the step, everything. You think of the modern world, of debts of sacrifices made in boardrooms, of lives traded for profit, of debts ignored until they crush you. Here, the debt is bone, is blood, is you. You look at Tay, his bone shaking in his hand, his spiral a mirror of yours. He's young, too young, but he's marked like you. And you know he'd follow you, step into the circle, pay the price, because he thinks he owes you, because he tripped, because you saved him. You think of Varn bleeding, of Sura, her songs, of Qui, his scar of the band, their hunger, their hope. You think of the mammoth, its eye, its spiral, its weight. You think of the women, their voices, their spirals, their truth. You choose how it ends. You stand, the snow falling harder, the hum deafening, the spiral pulling. You could run, hide, let the debt fester, let the band starve, let the step claim you later, slower, crueler. Or you could step forward, offer your blood, your breath, your name, and end it here, now for them, for Tay, for the mammoth's ghost. Your hand opens, the stranger's stone falling into the snow, its spiral buried. You pull the bead from your pouch, the bone slab from your cloak, and hold them tight, their coils burning, binding you. You look at Tay, his eyes pleading, and you know what you must do, what the step has always known. You step into the circle, the snow swallowing your boots, the hum swallowing your fear. The bone mammoth looms, its spiral a void, a mouth, a debt. You raise the bead, the slab, and press them to your chest, your heart pounding, your blood singing. You speak, your voice raw, not to the women, not to Tay, but to the step, to the spiral, to the debt. Take me, you say, and the words are a spear, a scream, a choice. Let them live. The hum stops, the snow stills, and the spiral opens, a wound, a womb, a world. You feel it, your breath, your bones, your name, unraveling, threading into the spiral, into the mammoth, into the step. You see Tay, his face breaking, his bone falling, his voice calling you. But it's too late, too right, too heavy. You see the band, their fire, their meat, their songs safe, alive, because of you, because of the debt you paid. You see Varn breathing, Sura singing, Qui nodding, all of them carrying you, not as a curse, but as a story, a mark they'll carve, not in stone, but in time. You see the mammoth, its eye closing, its spiral fading, its spirit free, because you chose, because you understood, because surviving here is impossible when the step demands your everything. The circle closes, the snow buries the stones, the bone mammoth crumbles, and you're gone, not dead, not lost, but woven, spiraled, into the step's heart, its debt, its dream. Tay stumbles back, his bone lost, his guilt yours now, his life yours now. The band will eat, will sing, will live, and you'll watch, not as a ghost, but as a wind, a frost, a spiral they'll never see, but always feel. You understand, as the dark takes you, why surviving here is impossible. Because the step doesn't want your life. It wants your choice, your debt, your soul, and you gave it not for glory, not for honor, but for them, for the spiral's end. Sleep well tonight, you who curl in blankets, safe from snow and spears. Dream of mammoths, of debts, of choices you can't unmake. But check under your bed, where the step's shadow lingers, where the spiral turns, waiting for your name. Good night, brave hunter, if you dare to close your eyes.